Hello, welcome to the match reaction video here on Latte Firm. Arsenal 1, Manchester City 1. Gabriel Martinelli coming off the bench late in injury time, getting that equaliser for Arsenal means the points are shared, or is it points dropped by Arsenal? Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome. If you're watching for the first time, please do drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Always difficult to make content when results haven't gone your way, but bear with me. I hope this is some sort of therapy, but let's tuck into everything that we've seen unfold at the Emirates today. Apologies for the voice in advance. A lot of screaming towards the end there, ushering Arsenal to go on and get the second, but sadly it didn't come, so it ended Arsenal 1, Manchester City 1. Get the chat active. We'll get to comments as much as we can. Want to talk about Gabby Martinelli, want to talk about the lineup. Mikel Arteta, too cautious for me. I think that was quite a really important point today, the lineup and the message that it sent to City and the message that it also sent to Arsenal fans. But points shared in the end, and that is the way that it has ended. So welcome to the show. Jonathan K was first in the house saying, good evening, everyone. I fear he will start Marino at Newcastle this weekend. Arteta is too conservative. Plays not to lose rather than to win. Vig says, evening Goon is extremely disappointed with the result. This is on Arteta, and he refuses to acknowledge it. He doesn't think Marino's choice was bad. We have one win in 10 Premier League games with Marino in midfield. Is that right? Trossard star wasn't exactly inspiring either, says Rome. Martinelli saved Arteta's derriere today. It hurts, says Rancid Pumpkin. It hurts so much. I'm so gutted. I think for me, I have a feeling of disappointment tonight. I was so excited about this game. I thought it was a chance for Arsenal to go and make a statement, to really take a title opposition team, to the cleaners, really, and just go and do the business on them again. And I feel really flat coming out the Emirates, even though we got the point in the end, and even though we came from behind and mustered all we could to get that sort of equaliser. I feel like it's 2 points dropped, and I'm a little bit flat tonight. It's really bizarre. But that's just how I feel. So let's get more comments. Latte, welcome to the show. Hi, FK. Really disappointed with the result. 2 points dropped. Arteta is to be blamed. He never learns. Can Arsenal win a big trophy with Arteta as coach? Look, I don't want to turn it into an Arteta. Can he do it? Will he do it? Is he good enough? I think it's perfectly fine to be pleased with the way that we responded with getting a goal and getting a point, as well as being disappointed in perhaps the lineup and the approach from the manager. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Asheen, welcome, says, goal. Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli, he's back. He's back again. Oh, yes. Arsenal forever, says Jeffrey. Welcome to the show. Asheen follows up by saying, also disappointed with the result and lineup. 5 points behind Liverpool with Newcastle to come. Arteta read the room incorrectly for this game. Says Arsenal Granny. We talked about it on the Friday night show, the late night lounge, about how flat that middle three is and how Arteta's got to be just a bit more, attack-minded, a bit more aggressive. But unfortunately, tonight we couldn't get the win. Paul Pavlinsky, welcome, says, this result is on Arteta. I love Mikel, but I cannot defend this amount of pragmatism. Pragmatic approach is a great way of describing it. At some point, we need to start approaching big games from a position of power. Tanweer says Arteta reached his peak 2 seasons ago. Look, keep the chat active. Dave, great to see you in the stadium today. Welcome to the show. Kay says, hi, FK. I'm so annoyed. Arteta is a complete coward. Karen's in the house. Paul's in the house. Great to see you as well. Just a couple of rows behind. Glad you stayed until the end as well. What a fantastic finish it was from Gabby Martinelli. Shoulder of evening, Gooners. FK, not sure how to feel tonight. We should have done more. Trevor Bibbins is in the house. Ragamuffin's in the house. Ian's in the house. Andy saying, so disappointed. Calm down a bit since, but Newcastle now is a must win. Alpha Male says, I'm fuming. We've lost 5 points because of Arteta. I feel like the narrative's going to be a lot about Mikel Arteta in the next couple of days. DN says, someone tell me what Marino does in midfield. Lose the ball and feign injury. I mean, look, it's wild, isn't it? We went away to Anfield. Marino was in the team. Everyone was left scratching their heads thinking, what does he bring to this team? We didn't win that game. Of course, we lost that game and it sort of cost us 3 points not being attack-minded. Then he goes away with Spain and scores 4 goals in 2 games. Everyone's left scratching their heads thinking, this guy can play. I think it was a mistake today. I think it's too flat. He's not a creative midfielder, and we desperately lack that in the first half. Toby, you can't win the league playing how we're playing. KSSMYW, hi FK. Well, I have to say, I think Mikel really pooped the bed with this one. We are better than them. We need to go after teams. Seems like when Ødegaard is out, we just don't have enough creativity, which is wild because you've got Eberechi Eze on the bench, Ethan Wanieri on the bench. There's no excuse for Mikel. I really, really struggled to defend him tonight. Hussam says, I feel the same, FK. We need to play through the lines. We have players with flair that are being bypassed. Look, keep the chat active. There's loads of you watching. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content for the first time. And sad to be talking under these circumstances. It's always much more joyous after we've won. But let's go to the lineups, because that is much of the debate. These courtesy of PremierLeague.com. And as you can see on screen, the Arsenal lineup. Look, David Raya in goal. No surprise there. Jurien Timber at right back. William Saliba, that was a question, wasn't it, on Friday? Would he come in? Is he fit? Is he going to just take Christian Mosquera, who's been brilliant, out of the team to play him alongside Gabriel Martinelli? And I thought, I have to be honest, Saliba looked like he'd played his first game in a few weeks today. Like he looked a little bit leggy, a little bit not sharp. And I thought he grappled and handled whatever he did with Haaland on a few occasions well, but I thought he struggled with Doku, and Doku was outstanding. I mean, so fast, rapid speed. He's had a great start to this season. Gabriel Magalhaes playing alongside Ricardo Calafiori. And look, on Ricardo Calafiori also, ladies and gents, love the player, love the energy he brings, love the sort of impetus that he brings. I thought he was a bit rash in the final 15. When you're going for the kill and trying to get a leveler and then trying to, in the last sort of 2-3 minutes, maybe even eke out a winner, he was sort of shooting rashly, rushing with his passes, a couple of, sort of desperate sliding challenges and giving away fouls. A little bit rash, and that's just maybe a development point for Ricky Calafiori. The midfield, though, is the talking point of the game. Declan Rice started. Obviously, everyone expected him to play. Not one of his best games. Zubimendi, I thought, was good. And Mikel Merino. And, when you play that three, I'm not going to go into what position I think each of these three play, but it just becomes a very flat three. You have no one picking up the ball in between the lines. You've got no one picking up the ball on the half turn and running away to the forwards. And I just feel that Mikel Merino isn't it. And when you're playing a team at home and you want to go for the win, you've got to be more courageous than that. We had on the bench the likes of, obviously, Saka, Wanyeri, Eza, who all came on, and I think he should have been more bolder, should have been more assertive with the lineup. And what sort of message does that send the opposition? I asked the same question after Anfield. Like, if you're Liverpool and you're sort of looking at the team sheet and you see Merino on the team, and not Ødegaard, not Eza, and likewise today, if you see Merino lining up alongside Zubimendi and Rice, it's not really the person individually. Like, I've got no problems with Mikel Merino. It's just the fact that you've got three very similar midfielders in the middle of the park, and you don't have that creativity or that connectivity to play with the three forwards that we had. North Bank Bren, shout out FK. First of all, oh my God, I've forgotten his name. That's terrible. There was a very, very kind chap who said hello to me on the way to the Arsenal stadium. He was there with his brother, and I've completely forgotten his name. My apologies, but thank you for stopping by and saying hi. It's really nice to get nice comments like that when you're on the way to a game. Jaika says that midfield at home hurts. I hopefully have pronounced your name correctly. That's what I mean. The midfield at home, I think it was just pragmatic, cautious. Let's kind of not lose instead of really go for the kill and win. Disappointing. Nunandinho, great name, says, evening, what do you think will trigger a change in tactics for Arteta? I think the noise. I think the fact that we've been able to come back. I think the belief in some of the fringe players like you, Martin Elysia. Eza's not really a fringe player, but now he's settling into the team. I think he's going to realise that, actually, we are good enough to go for the kill when it comes to these games in these occasions. Merino and Rice together doesn't work. And someone said at the start of the show, Merino now midfield, that's 1 win in 10 Premier League games. I'm hoping that's right. JSB says Madueke picked up an injury. I thought Noni Madueke played well in the first half, not as confident and courageous and as successful with his take-ons as he has been in the likes of Nottingham Forest and Leeds. Obviously, Manchester City are a much better team, but he played well. He looked a bright spark, and we really got going towards the end of that first half, and there was a chance when I think it was Merino who played a lovely slide ball through. Madueke picked it up and he hit it against... I think Donnarumma saved it, but it was low to Donnarumma's left-hand side. It looked bright in spells, but disappointed if he's injured. Hopefully it's not a serious one. Victor Gyökeres, what are your thoughts on Victor's performance? I thought he came in, tried really hard. Close control, first touch kind of let him down in the sort of tight moments, but he ran the channels. He tried to run his defenders, and the team didn't really make much for him. Today's game is not the sort of game that I'm going to go hard on Victor Gyökeres, because I think he's good enough to play for Arsenal. I think he's good enough to nab 20 Premier League goals this season. I think he's going to. He's gonna kill the sort of lesser teams. I actually think a game like today and a game at Anfield was more a Kai Havertz game. And it's just a real shame that Kai has obviously been missing, and he's hopefully going to be back very soon. BX Gullis says, well done to Martinelli for saving our derrieres. Ian Wallace says, Martinelli, last 20 minutes down the middle, might be the one. The guy is brilliant when it's instinctive. We've talked about this before. When Gabby Martinelli is played onto the ball and he has space to run into and he doesn't have to think about it, he is extremely, extremely good. Ray Qureshi, welcome to the show. Channel member says, I genuinely hope Arteta puts his stubbornness aside with 3 starting central midfielders who aren't creative. Start a creator in central midfield, for the love of God. Jeet, welcome, says, have Sky given City shit for parking the bus against us, or the only ones that get that? Pep Guardiola was quoted as saying after the game that sometimes you just have to defend against a better team. And I think we're getting that respect. And look at the way Manchester City played today. I've not seen them, a bit like Liverpool at Anfield. They were sort of standoffish and they were respecting us and they were letting us play our game. And I feel that the big clubs, the big managers, they know that we're serious. They know that we're stacked. They know that we're going to be a serious contender this season, despite today's result, of course. Russ, welcome, says Mikel once again showed what a negative manager he is. Never goes for the jugular against the sides we're competing with. To be fair, Russ, we went for the jugular towards the end. I mean, we really chucked the kitchen sink at it. We took off Urian Timber, who was hobbling, as he walked past the North Bank lower, which is, of course, where I sit. I would have quite liked to have seen Ben White come on for the last 10, 15 minutes. I thought Urian Timber was just letting himself down in the final third, but he was knackered, huffing and puffing as he walked off. But, to take him off and to bring on another forward, I thought that was ballsy. But again, if you can do it at the end, go for it at the start, and then you can shut up shop. So yeah, look, Ross, I'm kind of aligned with you in a certain way. It's going to say Martinelli pulled out a chip right out of the 90s. Superb finishing. Yeah, very sort of Ian Wright-esque. We're going to look at the goal in just a second. 88 miles an hour says Marino was the error. Look, I don't want to make it personal on Mikel Marino. I'm not saying that you are. It's not Marino the player himself. It's just that you've got 3 very similar style of player in midfield, and it doesn't allow for us to be creative and to connect between the lines. That's the biggest frustration for me. Thibaut, there's a name I don't recognize. Welcome to the show. So starting Trossard was a reward for the Bilbao game. I don't question that, as it keeps players pushing themselves. I mean, look, let's talk about that left-hand side. I was gobsmacked when I saw Leo Trossard in the starting lineup. I was also obviously upset about Mikel Marino, as I've just explained. I thought, if anything, Martinelli deserved it, because Martinelli, we know, plays well against the big teams. We know that he's fast, so he runs at speed. And, City, of course, playing Kusanov and O'Reilly as their fullbacks, as you can see on screen. I thought this was the perfect game for Gabby Martinelli to come on after 30 seconds and make an impact in Bilbao. He would have been high on confidence. And I know Trossard scored as well, but we know what Trossard is like. Unless he's scoring or assisting, he doesn't really ever do much in the game, and that's what really bothers me. He's often a passenger. And I thought he was okay today at best, but the first half, really, really disappointing. I thought Martinelli should have started. And Trossard, for me, as I've said many times on this channel, is an impact player off the bench. I still believe that. He's never going to beat anyone and run past anyone, says Star Screamer. That is another point there. Russ coming back on Gyökeres, saying he's looking like a flat track bully. He's done nothing against United, Liverpool and City. Well, look, United was his first game. I thought the team actually were quite poor at Old Trafford. Liverpool is a very difficult place to go, and you've come up against Van Dijk and Konate, and you're not going to get much change out of them. And tonight, yeah, look, Manchester City, they know what to do. They were playing quite deep. We tried to sort of go down both sides, and we didn't really create much for him. There's a moment, I think it was Leo Trossard, who sort of side-footed it across the goal into the 6-yard box, and you'd expect Victor Gyökeres to be there. He's not going to be happy with that game, but I think he's more than good enough for us to really smash the lesser teams. You're talking goals against the sort of top, maybe, 15 teams in the the bottom 15 teams of the Premier League. So, if he can score goals regularly against those teams out of the top 5, I'm happy with that. Absolute rubbish, says Ashwin. We just had one of our most dominant performances ever. Well, we'll look at the stats. So keep that in your mind. V Vlad, good evening, FK. Disappointing that Arteta didn't go for it. I think that is the common trend in this chat. V Vlad, welcome to the show. Wow, the chat is wild, and there are hundreds of you watching live on YouTube. Please do like the video. It's a massive help to the channel, and subscribe, of course, if you're enjoying the content. Welcome to FlipDoc. Welcome to Dan. Welcome to DJ D10. Welcome to Jags. Hello, bro. How was the stadium, was it flat? Yeah, I've got to say, I thought the atmosphere today was unusually mild. It was a glorious sunny day. The weather was absolutely spot on. Obviously, a weekend where we saw Liverpool go and win the Merseyside derby yesterday. We saw all the stuff happening at Old Trafford, and I thought it was a perfect day today. But it was really flat, and more bothering than that, the upper tier, opposite to where we are, so in the clock end, there were loads of empty seats. I'm not sure what's happened there. Really disappointing that the club can't sort out the exchange to fill the seats. I mean, tickets were going from £80. I personally know tickets that were being sold in the North Bank for £150, £200 plus. Dan's come back and said disappointing with the starting 11. Title number 14 says, FK, you were waxing lyrical on Arteta on Friday. Do you believe he'll get us a trophy this year? Yeah, of course. I absolutely believe that Mikel Arteta can get us a trophy this year, man. Today's result doesn't change that. Today's lineup doesn't change that. I think he will see what's happened and he will know what his squad is capable of. And there may be things that we're just not privy to in terms of a fitness, sharpness, science, data, whatever reason why he's picked these players. But I think he'll soon learn. He'll soon see that there are certain players that you just have to play. And Eber Chiesa, I know he's new to the team. I know he's not had much game time, but when you spend £68 million on a player who's ever present for Palace and played a complete pre-season, you've got to play him in a massive game like Manchester City at home. KSSMYW, I'm critical of Mikel for his decisions today, but the level of vitriol people are coming with is way over the top. He is not a negative manager. 21-22, everyone called us naive for being too open. Look, man, you can't please everyone, but I'm with you, KSSMYW. I certainly would not back any vitriol or any abuse towards the gaffer. But I think sometimes it's perfectly okay to think, you know what, actually, maybe you didn't get that right with hindsight. And it's not hindsight, because going into the game, and I rarely do it, I don't like to sort of tweet negativity before the game, but I certainly mentioned it in my WhatsApp groups. I didn't think it was the right 11 today from Mikel, and I think hopefully he's going to know that. The Eddie 1401 says, wow, FK, this was a Humpty Dumpty type performance. We had all the King's horses and all the King's men, but seemed to get the squad selection so wrong. Hard to take the result, but hope we learn from this. Mourinho is not a defensive midfielder. He is, of course, a midfielder. Roger R says, good evening. Dan says the starting lineup was a passion killer. Yeah. Right, let's move on to the stats. And I want to get your thoughts. Was it a point gained or 2 points dropped? Interesting getting thoughts of fellow Arsenal fans walking out the ground. Some people, many people saying, oh, definitely a point gained, given where we were and to come back into injury time. But I'm still convinced it was 2 points dropped. I think City were there for the taking. I think we are the superior team. We have a superior squad. We were at home and we should have gone for the jugular. But Arsenal won, Manchester City won. Expected goals fairly even. 12 shots on goal for Arsenal. Expected that, given that we were 1-0 down so soon. 3 shots on target, disappointingly. And we really struggled to get going until late into that first half, which was quite frustrating. 67% of the possession. So Manchester City really sort of respected us, sat back and tried to get us on the counter, and they did, of course. Passes, look at that, more than double the number of passes completed to Manchester City. How often are Pep's teams outpassed like that? Final third entries, more than double, 64 to 30. Deep touches, almost 5 times, 48 to 11. And zone 14 touches, more than double, 31 to 15. So look, you can see that we were really on top, particularly towards the end of the game. But of course, it took a Gabby Martinelli goal to come back and get that draw. Let's talk about let's get your thoughts. Was it a point dropped or a point gained or 2 points dropped? What do you guys think? Let me know. 88 miles an hour says dominant in possession, but no end product. Shoulder says 2 points dropped. No questions. Nat Saw says 2 points dropped. We won't win the league, showing up not to lose rather than coming there to win. Jeffrey says, so many negative people. The season is still long. Come on, Arsenal. Of course. DJ D10 says it's not just the selection. Mourinho just had an awful day. And yes, so much on the dropped points side. Andy coming back and saying Calafiori was poor today. Time to give MLS a go. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly's probably knocking on the door now to play. Certainly in midweek against Port Vale. Paul says 2 points dropped. Brighton and Spurs got a win against them. Why should we not be confident enough to field our creative players? Sorry, my man. Badly. I read that badly. Husam says 2 points dropped for me. We basically played 45 minutes with our best lineup, and that's the issue. We made the changes at halftime. How often do managers make changes at halftime? And what does that mean in terms of starting 11? Is that Arteta admitting that actually, I kind of balls this up? Saka may not have had 90 minutes in him, I get it, but start him. start your best team then if that's the case. But yeah, Jeffrey says 1.1. Rancis says 2 points dropped. Peter says 2 points dropped. I think most people will think that it's 2 points dropped just because we were at home. But of course, I completely understand and recognize that when you're 1-0 down and you're chasing, and deep into injury time, you get an equaliser. The feeling is obviously one of a point gained, but it's very interesting to see the consensus. Definitely 2 points dropped, says Alim. At home, we should be more brave and more attacking, and also need to stop with the long throws. Yeah, I was surprised to see a bit of that today. If we're going to do it, at least be effective. But yeah, didn't manage to do it. The goal itself early in that first half, and of course it was the demon striker that they have, Erling Haaland, scoring very early on, and it was a really good move, to be fair. I mean, look, we had possession. We're sort of midway through the half, as you can see. This graphic, courtesy of our partners, Opta Analyst, as you guys know, and they broke away really well. Tijani Reinders carrying the ball, and if you, I haven't seen any of the sort of highlights, but you can see here that he was running away towards the left of the penalty area as he was closing down on David Raya. Erling Haaland sort of peeled away to the right as he was sort of running towards me in the sort of block 9 of the North Bank lower. Haaland takes a really good touch, and he's such a good finisher. We know that one of the best finishers in the game, probably the best finisher in the game at the moment, and it was inevitable. And it was frustrating because I felt that sort of took the air out of the balloon. You know, we were there. We were so excited. It was early in that first half. It was a glorious day, as I was talking about. The atmosphere was pretty strong. And it was a real sucker punch, like real kick in the guts. And it took a bit of time for us to recover. And of course, it was Erling Haaland. And then you start thinking about the narrative and where's the goal and the creativity going to come from. But it was a good goal. And it was a really nicely worked goal and a beautiful weight of pass from Tijani Reinders. Great assist. I need to see that again because, listen, I'm not one of those Arsenal fans. I can appreciate good football as frustrating as it is. It was a lovely counter-attack. Really good run. Tijani Reinders is a fine player, and the ball that he played into Erling Haaland. Raya, could he have done more? Maybe. Could he have spread himself bigger and quicker? Possibly. But it's a really good finish. I can't knock that. Rome says, should Mosquera have started? I don't think Saliba was fully fit. Well, I think if you just joined, I just said earlier, William Saliba didn't quite look his brilliant best today. He looked like a player that had been out for a few weeks, a little bit rusty, a little bit, sort of unsharp, whatever the opposite of that is. It's definitely not blunt, but you know what I mean. He grappled with Haaland at times. Gabriel Martinelli grappling with Haaland at times. And you know what? I liked the fact, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but on the pitch, we waited until the end, until the players did their sort of lap. But I saw Gabriel Martinelli, or at least I think I saw him and Haaland having a bit of an embrace, like a bit of a hug. Last year it was a little bit nasty. The sort of finish at the Etihad, of course, was a little bit messy as well. But I think it was just a nice, friendly embrace, a bit of a respectful sort of, I'm glad I don't have to pay you again sort of next week or whatever from both sides. But a really good finish. And of course, 1-0. And then, of course, Arteta made the changes, right? So at halftime, he made the changes. Bukayo Saka coming on, Eberechi Eze coming on. That was a signal of intent, I thought, from the gaffer, or potentially, depending on how you look at it, a signal of maybe admitting that he made a mistake because the starting lineup was so conservative, as we've just talked about. So, Saka coming on, Eze coming on, really, really bold substitutes. And of course, we started knocking on the door. We tried to create chances. Mendy having a shot that curled over the bar. Eberechi Eze having a shot saved by Donnarumma. I think that was quite close to Donnarumma. It looked like a really good save, but I think if I watch the replay again, I'm sort of imagining it now. I think Donnarumma didn't have to move much for it. Couple of balls, being played square across the box. Set pieces. I've got to say, Donnarumma, he's going to be a very frustrating goalkeeper this season, but he did really well, punching out cleanly so many of our crosses. I thought City defended and dealt with a lot of that really well. Rodri, imperious in the defensive block as well, which was good for them. But of course, the deadline then was broken, and I'm so pleased for the boy, Gabriel Teodoro Martinelli Silva. I mean, look, the guy comes on. I was expecting him to start. What a beautiful finish this was. And again, I've not seen the goal back. I've just got this still courtesy of _Arsenal on socials. I think Martinelli takes 2 touches. So he takes that first touch and then he takes a second touch to dink it over the keeper. And, when he first lobbed it, I was a bit like, oh, no. I think he's just hit that too high. It's going to go over the bar. And then we sort of watching it in slow motion as the ball drops, and it's just not dropping for an eternity. And then all of a sudden it bounces into the side net and everyone's gone absolutely bananas in the North Bank. Absolutely tremendous. Great finish. Really, really pleased with the finish. And he deserves it. He came off the bench in Bilbao, scored a wonderful goal, and he scored a goal today again, which is just going to mean that his confidence is going to go through the roof. And the image on the right-hand side, you might be wondering, what the hell is that? I think this is a personal sort of message where he was talking to his partner saying that I'm not going to start the game today, and his partner responding back saying, don't worry, you're going to come on and play against tired legs and you'll score. And there he goes. Vamos, scoring, reeling away in front of the corner flag. Look, on another day, I'll be like, come on, boys, get back to the centre circle. We've got another goal to score. But he celebrated it. It obviously means a lot to him, someone who's not had much positive PR. And this is a guy who scored more open play goals than Bukayo Saka over the last 3 years. That's an insane stat. Let's not forget that he is still a player. DJ D10 saying, yeah, so refreshing to get Saka back. O'Malley saying Saka is so good. Saka looking really, really good. His ball control, his strength, the way he just glides past players. I love it. Absolutely love it. Peter says Donnarumma did the same thing when we played PSG. After 7 or 8 corners, you think we'd change something, but no, we continue to do exactly the same. Yeah, I thought City dealt with our set pieces very well. I wonder who made the assist, says Toby. Well, I'm glad you're wondering, Toby, because how could I not mention Eberechi Chiesa? What a ball. Again, without seeing the highlights, I seem to remember he was in our own half, it felt like. And he sort of dinked the ball over the top. And at first I was like, don't pass it to Victor Gyökeres. He's well offside. Or it looked like he was offside. Again, I need to watch the highlights. I could be getting this completely wrong. In the end, it's kind of, Gabriel Martinelli, who spun away from his defender. He's taken one touch, and then very quickly that sort of second touch over the goalkeeper, and what a pass it was from Eberechi Eze. And then you can see there David Raya and Eze embracing one another. I think that was during the goal and not full time. I'd be very surprised if that was a full time reaction. But what an assist it was from Eberechi, and that's what you get: 68 million quid in a game like that. In a situation like that, so late in the game, to just find a ball straight over the top, beautifully weighted into the path of an on-running Gabby Martinelli. Fantastic. Vlad says this Martinelli remontada, he's got a role to play in certain game states. Too many people went over the top with the criticism. Arsenal fans, over the top with criticism? Really? I know what you mean, Vlad, but really good to see him do that. Dan Fry says, fantastic Martinelli goal, similar to his Athletic Club goal. Glorious. Yeah, look, play him into space. Same with Victor. That is what we need to do with both of these guys. They are going to do it. Martinelli as a sub and down the middle is the way forward, says Jeet. Saka is like a magnet. Everyone wants to pass to him. What a talent. Indeed, he was great. He was offside. Was he offside? Gavin Martinelli? No. Because there was a VAR check in the stadium, wasn't there? And at that moment, oh my God, we'd finished celebrating and everyone had gone absolutely nuts. And then you get that dreaded white and purple screen on the scoreboard saying checking for offside, VAR. And we all, sunk down to the floor like, oh no, this is going to get let off. And then we saw the automated sort of view, and there was like 3 inches of a City player that sort of set the radar. Miles on side. Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought. Oh, yeah. Okay. Gyökeres was offside. Yeah. So I think I just said that. Someone looked offside when the ball went through. I was like, it's going to go off. But luckily, it was Martinelli who ran on, and maybe Victor Gyökeres ran back on again. I don't know. But listen, it was a frustrating result in the end. And look, my closing thoughts are this. I think I went into the game really excited. I thought it was a chance to go and really, lay one on Man City. They're going to be a good team this year. They're not going away. I think we were a little bit cautious, pragmatic, nervous, whatever, scared with our lineup. I think Arteta's got to be bolder. He's got to be more courageous, more attacking. Have at least one creative midfielder that loves to play and receive the ball in between the lines. And if it's not going to be the skipper, it's got to be Eze. And if it's not going to be Eze, then you've got to think about Wanyeri. Also, when you're playing fullbacks like Kusanov and O'Reilly, you've got to have speed. Madueke showed on the right-hand side really good moments in that first half. I think Martinelli would have feasted today in that first half. So look, really, really disappointing, but we conceded and we worked our way back into the game and we got a point. So on the one hand, I'm pleased that we managed to salvage a draw because a defeat would have been immensely painful tonight. But I am left disappointed with the gaffer and his approach to the game. I'm sure he has reasons for it. He knows what he's doing. I'm just some middle-aged bloke sat here in my office room talking to you lot about what my thoughts are on the game. And hopefully he learns from this and recognizes that he has a very, very capable squad. we're going to leave it there. We're going to have a much deeper dive tomorrow with Woz, tomorrow evening. So come and check that out. We'll talk about individual performances. We'll talk about the flow of the game. We'll talk about the selection. We'll maybe have some interaction as well with the chat. It's been fantastic. Yeah, there are just shy of 400 of you watching live right now on YouTube. Please do drop a like on the video before you go. It's completely free to do. Helps the channel massively with the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe if you've enjoyed the content. This is the place for match reactions on a match day. Always slightly delayed. You can watch all the big guns. And then you can tune into little old me and just have your moment of therapy and just get involved. You can get these also as audio on Spotify and Apple shortly, a few hours after they go live on YouTube. And thanks also to our Patreon members, 2 members today being able to go to the game, thanks to the ticket chat, which is always very active, and thanks to all of our channel members as well. Really appreciate all of you. Look after yourselves. Sunday night, 21st September, we'll be back tomorrow with a deep dive, and then it's League Cup action in the week. So the football is going to come thick and fast, but don't let the noise get you carried away. Take care. Bye for now.